extra vaccine. Colorado's supply is growing faster than expected.
We're going to continue to do everything we can to get the vaccine into arms.
We'll explain how a shifting federal strategy is a factor.
It's cold out there right now, and it'll turn much colder by the weekend.
And with a historic second impeachment trial underway.
This is about our Constitution and abusing the impeachment power.
He was impeached for inciting a violent insurrection.
Denver7 takes a close look at how this trial could unfold and why many senators are thinking outside party lines. 56 senators, that includes 6 Republicans, voted this afternoon to allow the impeachment trial to move forward.
This ends phase 1 of the impeachment trial, whether it is constitutional, and moves us into phase 2, where both sides make their arguments about whether former President Donald Trump should be convicted for inciting an insurrection before the Capitol riot on January 6th.
In tonight's 360 report, we're going beyond Republican, Democrat to show you the different forces driving this impeachment trial. You'll hear from those who believe the former president should be convicted, Trump's defense team, the senators who appear to be on the fence, and the ones who worry it's just a distraction from more important matters like coronavirus relief.
The House impeachment managers who are trying to convict President Trump believe the rhetoric leading up to the Capitol riot is an impeachable offense.
Fight like hell.
Videos like these were played in court today. Rioters said they were following Trump's orders as they stormed the Capitol. And senators were visibly shaken rewatching the footage. Colorado Congressman Joe Neguse, one of the 9 impeachment managers, called it the framers' worst nightmare.
President Trump was not impeached for run-of-the-mill corruption, misconduct. He was impeached for inciting a violent insurrection. An insurrection where people died in this building. Can't commit grave offenses in their final days and escape any congressional response.
Our next perspective comes from the team defending the president. Now, they could not convince the Senate to throw out the trial today, but it does appear their arguments will center on whether a former president can be impeached. Now, this has never been done before. No president's been impeached twice. No president's been impeached after leaving office. And Trump's lawyers said this is a partisan process aimed at silencing a political leader.
In this unprecedented snap impeachment process, the House of Representatives denied every attribute of fundamental constitutional due process that Americans correctly have come to believe is part of what makes this country so great. How and why did that happen? It is a function of the insatiable lust for impeachment in the House for the past 4 years.
2/3 of the Senate is needed for a conviction. According to this Washington Post analysis, that number is probably out of reach.
So 40 senators support conviction, we know that. 21 would be open to convicting. Now, even if all of them did vote to convict, there wouldn't be enough. House impeachment managers must sway one of the other 39 senators who said they oppose impeachment or so far have kept their views quiet.
And both parties say publicly that they would like this trial to wrap up quickly. The timetable is set up so things could be finished by the end of this week. But while the trial is going on, the Senate won't be able to take up other business.
How many people are going to get vaccinated because of this impeachment trial? None.
One other perspective we can't forget here, the Capitol police officers who fought to protect the building. While none has commented on the trial itself, Eugene Goodman, seen here confronting the mob on January 6th, was back in the Senate chambers today to watch the proceedings. And we know the riot took a toll on the department. 140 officers were injured. 1 died from injuries suffered that day. And other officers have taken their own lives in the weeks since the siege. Listen, if you have a comment about these proceedings, we want to hear from you. Email us 360@thedenverchannel.com.
All right, let me switch gears a little bit. Send it over to Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson. Mike, it's going to get cold.
Oh, you have no idea, my friends. I was just over by the fireplace warming up for a second. It is really going to get cold. Look at the temperature right now, 23 in Denver. It's 15 at Akron and 9 up at Sterling. We're right on the edge of this Arctic air mass that covers much of eastern Colorado. It's kind of blocked by the mountains from going farther to the west. 50 right now over at Grand Junction. And so we're going to see this little seesaw over the next couple of days of the coldest air being over the eastern plains, while the mountains get some periods of rain and snow. By the time we get to the end of the week, the colder air is going to come in statewide and drop us to some of the coldest temperatures that we've seen in about 5 years. I'll let you know just how low it's going to go in just a few minutes.
Today, the Aurora Civil Service Commission upheld the firing of 3 officers over a photograph mocking Elijah McClain's death. Those officers claimed the discipline was too harsh. Well, the commission called one officer's actions at best incredibly thoughtless and said it was important for Chief Vanessa Wilson to send a clear message about this kind of behavior.
By this time tomorrow, there may be 250,000 Coloradans fully immunized from COVID-19. The state gave out nearly 30,000 vaccine doses today. CDC data shows now nearly 4% of the state has received both doses, and more doses are heading to Colorado. That is the word anyway from the Biden administration this week, saying it will start shipping doses to pharmacies and community health centers.
Denver7's Megan Lopez spoke with White House officials about their COVID relief plan and got the governor's reaction.
Senate set to go into session.
While the U.S. Senate begins the impeachment trial for Donald Trump down Pennsylvania Avenue,
the president wants us to be able to vaccinate as many Americans as possible.
The Biden administration is trying to keep the focus on the nation's COVID response. In an interview with Denver7, the White House announced today it will be ramping up the vaccine supply for states.
We're increasing that up to 11 million vaccines per week. That's a 28% increase just since we came into office.
During a press conference Tuesday, Governor Jared Polis talked about a phone call between Biden's team and governors and the communication they're getting from the federal level.
What's gotten better? Increased supply, now with the announcement of 9,000 more a week, 3-week visibility into supply, twice weekly deliveries.
The president's team also tells Denver7 some of the additional vaccines are heading to pharmacies and community health clinics, saying these programs
are key to helping ensure communities of color, other underserved communities receive the vaccine.
But Polis and other governors across the country have some concerns with that announcement.
We want to make sure that states are in a position to hold those pharmacies and community health clinics accountable to using their doses.
He wants to be able to guarantee that those clinics and pharmacies are using their vaccine doses quickly. And if they're not, he wants to be able to hold them accountable. The increased supply also doesn't include Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and the governor says states are being left in the dark about that.
I think there's increasing frustration about the lack of visibility into the quantity of Johnson & Johnson supply. What we should know is when and if it's approved, what those quantities look like first week, second week, third week.
For now, though, the White House insists it's doing what it can to help states recover from COVID.
We know we have a lot more to do, but that's a key way that we're every week increasing the supply as more vaccines are being manufactured.
Megan Lopez, Denver7.
And the governor addressed many of the issues you've been asking us during his hour-long press conference today.
One question centered on this weekend's SCL Health vaccination event at National Western. Jeffco teachers received a call at 5 p.m. saying there were 200 doses available. Well, hundreds of teachers rushed to get one, and critics said the process created a traffic jam and unnecessary panic.
I really applaud the quick thinking at SCL Health and Jeffco Public Schools for making sure that those 200 doses were not wasted. I support, the state supports all extraordinary efforts to make sure that no doses are wasted. A far worse scandal would have been had those 200 doses been disposed of.
The governor also answered questions about vaccination phases. So right now, we're in phase 1B2, which includes teachers and those 65 and older. We're not finished, though, with phase 1B. That's 70 and up. And here's the governor's explanation.
If we limited vaccines only to those 70 and up, we would not be able to deploy vaccines fast enough, and vaccines would sit on shelves in Colorado. As you get towards the latter half of any group, you need to open up the next group so that you don't create a bottleneck of demand.
And listen, we know you have questions, so send us your vaccine questions and we will do our best to get them answered. We've already put together a Q&A with answers to some of the most common questions, and you can find that right now on thedenverchannel.com/vaccines.
Next at 5, a warning from state leaders. Large avalanches could become more common.
Plus, Contact Denver7 is continuing to fight for people stuck in unemployment limbo. And an arrest is made after multiple explosions in the town of Trinidad.